I have peripheral artery disease, and I didn't have the situation that I knew of until I started taking insulin, and then I could hardly walk. And then I got neuropathy really bad, and this PA at the endocrinologist, she says, "Oh no, you didn't get it from that. It's from your diabetes." I said, "I beg to differ. I didn't have these issues before I started taking this insulin."
So are you type 2?
Yes.
So a doctor who gives insulin to a type 2 diabetic is a moron. Complete
Well, I
nutcase.
told him he was a moron. I stopped taking the insulin, and I take berberine and cinnamon and moringa.
Right. And have you still got peripheral neuropathy?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you using vitamin B1?
Yes.
How much are you taking?
I take it in a dropper.
What form is it? Do you know what type? It's a type of thiamine, but there are various different types. Some are more effective than others. There's a book about vitamin B1, which is absolutely incredible. And whenever you take any B vitamin, you want to take a B complex with all of them in to balance it out. But you might find that one B1 isn't enough. You might find that 2 or even 3 or 4 isn't enough. But you just go up gradually with that one. You don't.
Is that not in the B1?
B1 is thiamine.
Oh, thiamine.
Same as B3. But generally speaking, it's the answer for peripheral neuropathy. Another famous B1 deficiency is anorexia.
Wow.
I mean, doctors should be taught this. It's so simple.
Absolutely.
It's criminal that they're not. I mean, the average doctor spends 4 hours a year on nutrition, and even then they're taught the wrong stuff.
I'm in this PAD group on Facebook, and it's like, I figure if your body created this problem or whatever, if it was food or medications, if you find the right procedure, you can reverse it.
I can see reversal in everything except my own issue, which is ironic. But again, you've been told you've got a disease. No, you haven't. You've got a nutritional issue going on, and your body has adapted to that by giving you what they call type 2 diabetes. But it's not a disease. It's a deficiency, perhaps some wrong eating and so on. You haven't got a disease. You haven't caught it. You've created it.
Yeah. I mean, the supplements that I take, I ought to be doing jumping jacks.
So can I ask you what you eat for breakfast?
What do I eat for breakfast? Well, it all depends. I was doing smoothies, but somehow I'm not real good doing the smoothies anymore. But sometimes
Tell me what you put in the smoothies generally.
Kale, some blueberries, flax seeds, coconut milk, and maybe some blueberries.
Okay. All right. The mistake that a lot of people make with smoothies is making them too green. Kale, broccoli, all the cruciferous vegetables, spinach, have oxalates in them, and oxalates are little sharp, like glass crystals, and they can really damage the kidneys and the gallbladder. And a friend of mine who's a health expert, I met up with him in Mexico about 8 years ago or something. We were at this buffet in the hotel, And whereas my plate looked what you might call normal, his was piled high with green vegetables, nuts and seeds. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm experimenting with a nut, seed and green diet. 2 weeks later, he was in hospital with
Oh,
kidney
no.
stones because he'd poisoned himself with too many oxalates. The other mistake that people make is they make a green smoothie without putting fat in there. And to get the fat-soluble vitamins out, you need a little dollop of coconut oil or something. So people make a lot of mistakes. Okay, let's say that your breakfast is healthy. What's your blood sugar after breakfast?
Well, it goes up. It's never normal. I think, yeah, it is. Sometimes it's normal, but that's on a rare occasion. It usually is maybe like 150, 170, and then after I eat, it could go up to 200 and over.
All right. So, what do you drink during breakfast?
I drink water, and I'll drink. We make turmeric, ginger, and then we put cinnamon in it and some cayenne pepper. I'll drink a cup of tea like that.
Okay. Do you sweeten it or not?
No.
And so what about mid-morning? When do you next eat or drink? What do you have?
I don't really eat breakfast. I'll eat breakfast like at 12, 1 o'clock.
Okay, and then what do you eat after that?
Maybe I'll eat an egg or whatever.
Okay. And in the evening?
In the evening, I like to eat dinner by around 4 o'clock, and I'll have a protein and maybe, last night I had some little pieces of pork and a little bit of mashed potatoes and stewed tomatoes.
Okay, so tomatoes and potatoes can raise your blood sugar because they're sweet, effectively. And so how's your weight? Is it normal, low, high?
Weight.
Sorry?
I said I'm overweight. I did lose a couple of pounds recently when I had revenge.
Okay, so either you're storing toxins, as we discussed earlier, or you're eating more than you need. So, the weight's got to be from something.
Well, these people in this group said they're not hungry. It's like, I wish I could say I wasn't hungry.
Okay, have you tried Gymnema sylvestri? It's a herb, Gymnema sylvestri.
No.
You might want to get hold of that and try it. Also get hold of some chromium, maybe in the form of chromium picolinate, and try that. First time I tried chromium picolinate, I immediately noticed my appetite go down. But then again, you could try amino acids. On my website, we do amino acids, and that again might cut your hunger out. Fulvic minerals, which are in the box that I sent you.
Yeah, taking those. Well, that berberine supposed to cut your appetite too.
Yeah, it's finding the one that works, I think. There's a funny story. Last year we launched an energy blend, and a lot of people wrote back because we asked people to tell us whether it worked for you or not, and a lot of people said that they really liked the energy blend, but they'd lost weight. So my business partner suggested we reformulate it slightly and turn it into the weight loss blend. So you could try the energy blend as well. I'll pop some in the post for you so you can try it. But there's got to be an answer. I suggest have a look at the diabetes page on the Secret Health Club.
I thought when you got older, your appetite dropped.
Well, yeah, often. I'm 70.
I do like spaghetti, pastas, and I do like bread a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't spend my day eating spaghettis and bread.
But if you could change your habits for 30 days, watch the Raw for 30 film, see what they're eating, see if you could handle that for 30 days, because it's a reset. It's like going on a fast.
Yeah,
Great
I
things
did.
can happen. How long for?
I did the Raw maybe a year or two back for like 6 or 7 months.
So, but were you still eating fruit?
Not much.
Were you eating carbohydrates, potatoes, bread products?
No, I was just eating green things.
And what happened to your weight?
Well, I dropped weight and my blood sugar went to normal.
Right. So could you live like that and gently add a few things and see what happens? Because you can give a potato to one diabetic and their blood sugar will go up a lot. Another diabetic, same amount of potato, their blood sugar may not go up. So if you could get back to that fasting, semi-fasting raw state, then you could, carefully monitor your insulin. Have you got one of these, Freestyle Libra?
Yeah, I got it on my arm.
So you could keep a food diary, and every time your blood sugar goes high, you can maybe set the alarm lower than maybe you have. What have you got the alarm set to at the moment?
I think like 200 or 250.
Well, you could try lowering it just a little bit and see if you get warned earlier, and keep a record of what you ate, what you drank, and what your blood sugars were. You could also.
I don't drink any fruit juices or anything like that because that really does damage.
Yeah. No, I'm type 1 diabetic, so I know.
My issue is bread and pasta.
Yeah. So now you know what your issue is. So all you got to do is find the solution, and you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, try the alternatives that we were discussing earlier. Even things like pasta, there are those noodles. I can't remember what they're called.
I think it's chickpea pasta. I bought those.
Yeah.
And I think the European brands are better too because it's a different kind of wheat than they make here in the United States.
Yeah, a Durham wheat, Durum, Durham wheat is the one you're probably thinking about. But there is a plant-based noodle, which if you put some sauce on it, is similar to wheat.
Yeah, like a zucchini.
Oh, the spaghetti. Yeah, spaghetti.
I mean,
There's another one made from a type of yam. Some sort of root, and that doesn't raise your blood sugar. You can eat as much of it as you like. Tastes more like a sort of Chinese noodle than spaghetti, but nevertheless, I say there are. If you research what are the alternative foods to my favorite ones, so to speak, probably some stuff that you haven't yet come across might work out. So don't give up hope, really. Reset your body, and then you can add things bit by bit and see what works for you.
Yeah, I did good when I had the Montezuma's Revenge because I didn't eat for 3 days. and after it was over, I didn't have any pains. My feet didn't hurt. I said, it's a miracle.
Well, people think they're regular when they go every day, but it doesn't mean that they're going, it should be about 18-hour transit time. I had one guy, he went on a long fast. He rang me up on day 8 and said, you never guess what's happening. I haven't eaten for 8 days, but I'm still dumping it every day. So he was backed up 8 days, maybe more, but he thought he was regular. He went every day, but he wasn't. He was 8 days backed up. So that's rotting inside him, making him ill.
Yeah. I think we're still going to come up on our first break.
Yeah, we've got about 2 minutes, and I think it's going to come up. But this is really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. I'm learning.
Well, we have to learn the proper foods to take and the proper, because we're all deficient in something. I've been thinking I had parasites.
Well, that is possible too. The parasites can take over your brain and
Right,
say to you, eat the sugar because that's what they like to eat.
right.
I mean, in the old days, our ancestors, not that long ago, every winter they would have done some parasite cleanse. They would have eaten lots of bitter herbs and they would have given a parasite cleanse to the animals. 100 years ago, that was sort of normal, wormwood and stuff like that.
When you hear all this information on parasites and whatnot, when I went into the oncology gynecologist, I said, let me ask you something. When you take these tumors out of people, I said, are there parasites in them?
Good question. What did he say?
She said, no. And I've said in my head, I don't believe you.
Well, they may be smaller parasites than they've been looking for.
But I mean, how can they take a tumor out that big and there's no parasites? Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, they may be looking for big worms, but the parasites might be the size of a malaria fluke, which you can't actually necessarily see.
Right.
Because there's a big talk that cancer is caused by parasites now?
Well, I think there are a lot of causes.
Old. Carly, I call you De Carle. Maybe it's De Carle.
De Carle.
And we'll be right back. Don't go away. We're back, and you've been listening to Revolution Radio, Life in the Hologram, and we're all listener supported. So if you have any extra change or extra dollars, please send them in for your donation here at Revolution Radio. We'd really appreciate it because we are listener supported and all that good stuff.
I thought you had disappeared there for a minute, Madeline. There was another call coming in and it said it was you.
Huh.
But it was saying if I answered it, it was going to put this one on hold. So I ignored it.
You know what? I had the phone up against the screen and it must have did it itself. Strange things are going on.
Yeah, that's for sure. But what an interesting guest we have here.
Yeah, Clive's taking a walk.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw that there.
Yeah, just getting something to drink.
I looked at some of the videos. Was that like a retreat that you had, Clive, over the summer where people were trying out the chair, the Tesla chair?
I did the festival circuit this year, so every weekend pretty much myself and my colleagues took about half a dozen chairs to festivals. I don't know whether you've been to festivals recently, but after the first day you've sort of seen it all and maybe you don't like the music. And so we had queues outside our place really every weekend, all weekend, people non-stop trying the magic chair. Mm-hmm. If anybody hasn't seen the videos, you can go onto Secret Health Club, and for £1, £1, you can see the testimonials. Literally, we put thousands of people on the chair now, and it's unbelievable. We've had absolutely incredible results. Mm-hmm. The one that's even more attractive in a way is the pelvic floor chair, which delivers 20,000 pelvic floor exercises in half an hour. We've had several people in the last couple of months who've sat on it for half an hour. Usually it takes 4 to 6 goes to get a result with, say, incontinence or erectile dysfunction, prolapse, that sort of thing. But we've had several people whose incontinence has been fixed in literally 30 minutes, just one go.
Wow.
It's massive, particularly with women, obviously, particularly after giving birth. Mm-hmm. The older people get, I've had so many, since I've had the chair, so many people have opened up to me and said, look, I just cough and I piss myself. Yes, I've had various women say, I used to enjoy going to comedy shows, but I don't dare go because I'll piss myself.
Well, they can depend.
They laugh, and it. but I say it's much more common than I ever realised. It's not something people normally talk about, particularly the men, erectile dysfunction. And, constipation, various things can be fixed, with simple electromagnetics. And it's not painful, the pelvic floor chair, but you feel it exercising you. The stronger somebody's pelvic floor is, the more they feel it. So some people can only handle it at 5%. There's people who've got a really weak pelvic floor, they could crank it up to 100%. So you can really tell. Everybody makes the same noise when I switch it on. They go, ooh, like that. I had one lady who was really funny. She said, ooh, ooh. She said, is it meant to feel this nice?
Well, you have a lot of Tesla things, don't you?
Yeah, and that was where I started with frequency devices. I was working with a medical doctor something like 20 years ago, and he explained that at one point every hospital had Tesla devices. I'll show you one. Turn on some more lights. So this is a hospital unit.
Oh.
So this, in a big hospital, this would have been normal. I mean, in London, one of the famous hospitals is Guy's Hospital, and they started their electrotherapy department in 1843, really before drugs got a hold, which is this one is missing the electrodes. But here's a very small one, the opposite sort of size.
Wow.
But, you can get people out of pain probably 8-9 times out of 10, chronic pain. And there are electrodes there for the hair, thyroid, charging yourself up with energy, the eye. And I use the eye electrode most of the time for myself because I want to protect my eyes. Basically, if you charge yourself up with raw Tesla energy, the cells of the body repair themselves, which is why, sometimes I've had results as fast as 10 seconds where, the problem has just gone. I had one lady who had lockjaw, she couldn't talk, and it had been like that for several days. And that was probably a magnesium deficiency that caused that. But I put the general purpose electrode on her face, and before I could say, can you feel it yet, as I turned it up, her mouth just dropped open, she could talk again. But generally, 3-4 minutes is what you need for chronic pain, generally.
Wow. Well, what about the Rife frequencies?
Well, I've used Rife machines, but they're not my favorite. I'm impatient. I want a result in minutes, whereas Rife machines generally take a lot longer than that. It's not that it's a bad technology or anything, but I think Tesla was the real genius. And, his equipment was considered normal up until the Second World War. In America, they locked up most of the manufacturers for making false claims, and they shut the industry down pretty much. Then the press obviously persuaded people that drugs were better, and the Rockefellers and their mates went round to the teaching hospitals and said, look, we'll endow you with $1 million or $10 million or whatever it was if you stop teaching that herbalism rubbish and that old therapy rubbish. Drugs are what it's about, surgery if necessary, and radiation would be good as well. And unfortunately, the teaching hospitals took the money.
Yeah, it's sad.
In England, there used to be something like 20 homeopathic hospitals. Now, you don't get to be a clinic unless you're good, and you don't get to be a hospital unless it's effective. So, but where do the 20 homeopathic hospitals go? I think there's only one left, and I think that's tiny. It's a room now rather than whole hospitals. And, the electrotherapy technology used to be everywhere. Dentists used it. Doctors used it, even hairdressers used it for regrowing hair. It was just normal in the 1920s.
Also, mineral baths. Like, there were a lot of bathhouses. Like, there was a bunch of them here on the coast. Like, deep well bathhouses. They're all kind of sealed up now, but that was the big thing. They would come out of the cities.
Yeah, I mean, spas, people have been taking the waters, which were usually magnesium-rich waters, for millennia. And in England, there were, again, at least 20 hydros where they used water cures. In Bath, in England, there's the Royal Mineral Water Hospital, that I think now is being turned into apartments. But all these treatments, which were considered normal, beneficial, they were too cheap.
They were too cheap. Oh my.
Well, did you hear about these med beds?
Well, the thing is, do they exist? I had lunch with Sasha Stone, and he was showing me some pictures of what he says are med beds that are coming soon. But last year I was out at the largest longevity festival in America, and for 3 days, 3 of us, my 2 colleagues and myself, spent 3 days just looking around the exhibition hall. There were thousands of devices, and I was looking for med beds, but there were people who called their devices med beds, but not in the sci-fi fantastic fix you, get into this box and you'll be fixed.
Right.
I didn't see it. It's not to say they don't exist, but they weren't on sale.
Well, now your magic chair, that would do miracles too, doesn't it?
The stuff that I've seen has been incredible. I mean, I'll tell you a few of the highlights. We had this woman who had somehow gripped onto a high-tension electric fence with 3-phase electricity. And apparently, only 1 person in 10 survives that. She did. She survived, but when she came to me, she said, I can use my left leg and my left arm, but they don't belong to me. I have no feeling there. It's like they belong to somebody else. I can see them, use them. Anyway, put her on the chair for 10 minutes, and it was 3 years since this had happened. All her feeling came back in 10 minutes flat. But then it got even more interesting. She explained that day when she'd been electrocuted, she wasn't alone. She had a friend with her who saw exactly what happened. And what her friend saw was a black guy come up and pull her off the fence. Now, not only is that impossible, but the lady said, well, actually, there were only the 2 of us there, so it couldn't have happened. However, my husband, she said, who died a year earlier, he was black.
Huh.
Wow.
We had a lady come with multiple sclerosis, or at least that was the diagnosis she'd been given, and 10-minute session, she's basically walking, which she wasn't doing before. That's similar with motor neuron disease. If you think about a wild animal who just escapes the lion, what do? They shake themselves and they get rid of the adrenaline. People don't do that. This chair does it to you. It shakes you, and then it stops just like that. And you go from full-on sympathetic dominant, full-on fight or flight. You don't feel scared or anything, but that's where it's putting you. And then when it stops, this is a new thing for the body. If the bears just chased you and you've managed to escape, it's going to be several hours before you can shed the adrenaline and cortisol and so on. But the chair releases or rebalances the nervous system, and that sudden change from sympathetic dominant to parasympathetic is a unique experience, and there's nothing else like it in the world that can release trauma that I know of, anything like this. So I've only had, I think, 2 people maybe who didn't like it. Most people like it, and the common response after they've experienced it is people go, wow. Almost I can guarantee that 9 out of 10 people will say the same word, it's wow.
The videos I watched, they were all saying wow.
I know.
And some of them were saying it was just 10 minutes, and they were going back for the 25 minutes.
Yeah, and you can do, the longest program is 1 hour, 17 minutes. So there are programs for meditation. There are about half a dozen. One of them has Kate Blanchett doing the narration. Some are silent, some have got sort of forest noises. Then there are ones if you've missed a night's sleep. There are ones if you want to take a big boost of energy. There are ones that can help you go to sleep. You can go in many directions with it. Then there's a program, there's a beginner's level, if you like. Then there's the second level where you can attach a device to your finger, which basically reads your neurology and your heartbeat variability. And now, by using breathing techniques, you can make the chair do what you want it to. And the third level is you can watch a movie while you're doing it. At the beginner level, you wear headphones and a blindfold. It's a blindfold where you have your eyes open in pitch darkness, which some people like. And sports teams are one of the biggest buyers of these because, for an athlete, if they got a little bit of an advantage, that could mean winning the race. And this can put you into the absolute peak state as an athlete. And then afterwards, it can relax you so that your muscles don't ache, hopefully the next day. It's quite...
Wow.
It sounds fabulous.
Really
did you design this chair?
No, I wish it was me. It's an American design.
Really?
They designed it about 3.5 years ago, and they used the state-of-the-art brain monitoring. So when they were programming and setting up the frequencies and so on, they could see the people's brains in real time respond to what they were doing. So it's while it looks like a simple reclining chair, it's quite sophisticated. And if somebody's got a massive trauma, their child has died and now their body's packing up, what I've realized is that in some of these cases where people have been diagnosed with MS or motor neuron or something, that actually it's trapped trauma where the body has heard this message from the person, let's say, who's lost a child, like that they're useless and worthless and they should be dead, that sort of thing. And I think in a lot of cases, literally the body picks that up, that self-sabotage thought process, and delivers that useless, worthless body. And by releasing the trauma, there's one lady I was particularly thinking of. I had to hug her for about 15 minutes because she was in floods of tears, and she explained that her daughter had died 14 years before, and then within a year she got motor neuron disease. And she was not, I didn't just have to hug her, she was screaming, crying. It was, very distressing, but she released all this trauma and suddenly she could walk. She spent about 15 minutes in hysterical giggles, actually, afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah, obviously not everybody's got that sort of serious issue, but I think all of us, to some degree, have been traumatized by the rubbish that's happened in our lives,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we have all these situations. We're loaded with toxins and parasites, and then to top that all off, we have all this trauma from birth till now. It's lucky we're still here.
Well, it shows how resilient the human being is,
Yeah, it does. It sure does. Are they expensive, the chairs?
Yes and no. It depends how you look at it. The pelvic floor chair costs, in US dollar terms, about $6,000, maybe, something like that. And let's say you said somebody who was incontinent or had erectile dysfunction, would you pay $2,000 to fix that? A course of treatments, maybe 10 treatments. They probably won't need that many, but people would like a 3-month top up once they're fixed anyway, just keep things in control. I think many people, if they could afford it, would think $2,000 would be a bargain to get over a very serious issue. And so we needed 3 clients, and you bought the machine.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, they're cheap. Yes, $6,000 isn't cheap, but if you see what I mean, it wouldn't take long to pay for it. And you can get lease purchase. If somebody's got a company running or they own a house or something, they can lease purchase it in England with no deposit, you can do a 3-year lease. So it costs virtually nothing relatively. In England, we're also doing a limited rental scheme for people. With the magic chair, it's more expensive. You're looking more like $11,000. So that one doesn't make quite so much financial sense. However, it's worth bearing in mind that communities need to buy these pieces of equipment. The Tesla devices are much less expensive. They start from just under $2,000 for restored original devices, which is good value considering you can get most people out of pain, let alone treat most other parts of the body. The big sets, there are electrodes for everything you can conceive of, from open wounds to ears to noses to anuses to you name it. They invented an electrode for it. So people don't know. The Tesla knowledge is pretty much lost. Not many people even know it existed. And the new technology, well, the press have got no interest generally in writing about it, because in every country but England, pretty much, the press is supported by the advertisers, and the main advertiser is the pharmaceutical industry, which is why you so often see hit pieces on vitamins. Nobody ever died of a vitamin. Nobody has ever died of a vitamin, to my knowledge. But when they test vitamins in the press, it's always the synthetic ones. Some of them have to be synthetic, but they always do the tests on ones that they know won't work, or they give a dose that's so tiny that it's ineffective. So one has to be very careful what you believe. Mark Twain famously said 100 years ago or so, be careful what you read in a health book, because you might get killed by misprint.
Oh, wow. That's on the website. Yeah, I read that.
And how dangerous are the pharmaceuticals?
Well, they're poisons.
Right. That's like I said, I had this argument with his PA, and I said, well, according to this insulin, it says you can gain weight and it can cause neuropathy. And I said, it's like, why would you want to give me something to gain weight? I'm already overweight, and I don't need, more neuropathy. So what good is this? And they get mad at me.
Many questions. Wow. I know, especially the side effects. They tell you right there on the side effects.
Yeah.
And they're not side effects, they are effects.
Effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look at all those things like the Ozempics and all those things that you're, taking it for diabetes, and now people are taking it for weight loss, and they're getting sick.
Imagine that. Who would have thought?
Yeah, because I took the Ozempic and I got sick. And, they poo-poo you. I said, listen, as soon as I take the shot, not an hour or two later, I said, every muscle, every bone in my body aches. And they're, oh, well, that can't be. It's like, yeah, it can.
They would send you to a psychiatrist if they could for that.
I'm not real good with pharmaceuticals.
But the fact that they don't even believe what you're saying to them, you know, they're kind of conditioned with that response, like that can't be. I mean, you're sitting there telling them that it is.
And if somebody does cure themselves, the doctors will just say, "Oh, it must have been a misdiagnosis, or it was that drug we gave you 6 months ago. It kicked in now." As an excuse.
And don't even. This doctor gave me this blood pressure pill, and he says, well, how's it work? And I said, I took one and I didn't feel good, so I stopped taking it. And he says, you can't stop taking that drug. I said, yeah, I can.
Doctors are crazy, with blood pressure. Why would your intelligent body put your blood pressure up Well, it might be you're dehydrated and the kidneys aren't functioning properly. Therefore, the body decides putting more blood through the kidneys will, get them to filter twice as much, so to speak. Doctors don't often consider the causes of anything.
No.
And, of course, the best blood thinner in the world, of course, is water. That works best.
Doesn't it even help, if you kind of overloaded yourself with sugar things, to drink a lot of water?
Well, yeah, I mean, with diabetes, how the body copes with the excess sugar is it makes you pee more to get the sugar out. If I've eaten the wrong choices and my blood sugar's gone high, I'm up in the night peeing. Whereas if my blood sugar is okay, then I usually don't. So yeah, drinking water, if you're eating too much sugar, is going to help. But again, it's what water you're drinking.
Right.
You want your water ideally to have a really good dose of minerals in it. Here at this house, I've got reverse osmosis, but that leaves it mineral deficient. So I might take some fulvic minerals and put a squirt of that in the water, or a tiny pinch of Celtic salt. And you put a tiny bit of salt in the water, it's much smoother. You give people a choice of one with tiny bit of salt. Not they taste, it doesn't taste salty. But you give them one, it tastes okay. Give them the one with a little bit of salt in, and it slips down. It's much smoother.
I have this, what does it do? It hydrogenates the water.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Water's a serious thing.
It really is.
Like with my granddaughter, I said, please don't use that tap water. I turned it on the one day and I'm smelling the chlorine coming out of it. It's like, oh my God.
Well,
times of the year in your toilet, it gets like a brown, ridge around, and they're like, you're drinking this stuff. Pay attention.
Well, just like fluoride, chlorine is a neurotoxin. It makes you stupid, which suits the government really well.
Yeah. If we get out of here alive, we'll be lucky.
I know, like everything that's kind of rigged, like even like the labs, if they have to test a drug or anything like that, they just lie, everything is just fixed in a certain way. I can't believe that they have taken all the Tesla and all that equipment that would have been around, to ensure people had healthy lives, happy lives. And it was non-invasive, for the most part. And
they don't
buried it. And what did they do to him? Tried to wipe him out of history.
It's funny with Tesla because I've been searching for photographs of him. And if you search on the search engines, there are literally only about 20 photographs that crop up. Now, he was the most famous scientist in the world for a long time. There are so few photos of him. And I don't know whether they wiped the photos of him off the internet, or some people are saying, well, did he ever exist, or was this technology actually older and he was just given the credit for it?
I watched a couple of documentaries about him, and he was extraordinary.
Absolutely. There are two autobiographies, one that's the real one and one that's a fake out there. On the Secret Health Club, under the Tesla section, for people who buy a Tesla device from me, we've got almost all of Tesla's writings there. We've got a massive archive of Tesla stuff.
That's one guy I would like to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's interesting that what you said, like, did he exist, or did this equipment like precede him and he got credit for it? Like, it's interesting. How would we even find out?
How can you believe anything these days? If the government's telling you it's easy, because it'll be the opposite.
Oh yeah, whatever they tell you, it's never what they're actually doing.
But that's the
There's
whole
never
thing.
the reason.
It's all inversion, isn't it? That's the
Mm-hmm.
satanic thing. Invert everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have been having free energy, free electricity, and free everything, but God forbid that shouldn't happen. Well, Europe seemed to be okay over in Europe. Heck, they're trying to kill us off over here. They're trying to blow us away, burn us out.
Well, they're trying here as well.
We'll be lucky if we have a United States left.
Well, the economy is, well, you're bankrupt. You've been
Yeah,
The United States have been bankrupt for 100 years, I think.
yeah.
Bankrupt more than once.
And
But,
isn't it great? They still print money to give away.
yeah, exactly.
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the solution is there, and the money solution is very simple. In 1914, in England, before the First World War started, the government was petrified that there'd be a run on the pound. And as everybody knows, there's only a tiny fraction of the money that the bank has loaned out only exists in a tiny fraction. They've lent out 10 times at least more than they've ever created. So the British government were afraid there'd be a run on the bank. Everybody would want their cash back, which wasn't there, and that the British economy would collapse. So what they did is they had a bank holiday. They closed the banks for about 4 days, and in that time, the government printed their own money. Now, this was a big gamble because they didn't know whether the public would accept this new money, bits of paper that were new. They did accept it. So on the first day, when they introduced the money, they only had time to print the notes on one side. By the second day, they were producing notes printed on both sides. And for a couple of weeks or so, the government was printing its own money, cutting out the banks, and so there was no interest charged, right? So after a couple of weeks or so, the Bank of England took control back. They probably threatened with the people with death. And then it went back to the private bankers who were making a profit, charging interest for doing zero, lending money that doesn't exist. They just made it up and say, here it is. And so it's proven. This was called the Bradbury pound. The Bradbury pound. That was the name of the government guy who brought it in, John Bradbury. And so it's actually proven that England has in the past got itself out of dire straits by not creating money as debt, which the banks do, but creating money as value.
Mm-hmm.
Just two totally different things. So America had it. I think it was Jefferson, who stopped interest for a while. There was a golden age of expansion. Not so golden for the Native Americans, but golden for the newcomers. Gold, the price of gold stuck at the same price. I think it was about $30-ish for almost 100 years. So at that point, let's say 100 and something years ago, you could, with an ounce of gold, have a couple of great nights out, buy a couple of great sets of clothes and stay in a hotel or something. Now, an ounce of gold will buy you exactly the same stuff, but now it costs more like $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And this is printing money and paying debt to non-existent entities. I mean, how the banks get away with it is just ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. And you can ask an economist, how is money created? Chances are they won't really understand that it's made from nothing. Fractional reserve, you got a fraction, you can create 10 times more from it, something like that. Mortgages are a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, isn't that the holy truth?
Yeah.
You sign that document, you've created the money, then the bank pretends that it's theirs and get you to pay that money back for 35 years. They double dip.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's say your $40,000 house turned into a $120,000 house by the time it's paid for.
Yeah.
And it costs the bankers zero. Some stuff
Right.
to sign a fraudulent document, which they never signed. You sign the mortgage document, they don't. So there's no contract in reality. A friend of mine made a video called The Great British Mortgage Swindle, which was on Netflix or Amazon. And he basically took the government to court and won. And yeah, they got the mortgage refunded, basically.
Good. We need to
Yeah.
hear about stories like that, more of them. You know, there's the financial system is just bogus. And then you have the medical profession, which is bogus. And it looks like even the education, as far as like, that has become bogus, whereas it wasn't always that way, I don't think, you know?
I think it's always been a child indoctrination camp.
Yeah, oh yeah, that for sure.
So, you know, now knowing what I do, I would have realized that homeschooling, especially with other people, is really viable. I did an interview a couple of years ago with an American guy whose name I can't remember right now, who set up about 30 non-schools in California and around that area. And if you're a school, then you have to abide by the laws. But if you're a non-school that just happens to have children and adults in one building, it's sort of legal. And so the rules of the school are made up by the children. What children want to do every day is the children's choice. And over the last 20 years or so, they've created ideas that you could suggest to the children. You know, it's raining outside, you know, what are they going to do? So there's now so much knowledge about how to homeschool children successfully. I would have done that. My last child went to a Steiner school, you know, of, if you like, semi-conventional schools. I think Steiner is one of the best methodologies.
Yeah, that's what I said to a couple of these teachers. You know, here in the United States, if you're a teacher, you're almost taking your life in your own hands. I said, why don't you just quit and take about 10 kids in, or, you know, 6 or 7, and charge the parents maybe $15,000 a year or something, and just do like a homeschool thing.
But, you
And
know,
you'd probably earning as much money as you would if you would teach in school.
but also, you know, some days a week, 2 people could come in and be the teachers for that day, you know, who are probably the parents, so they could reduce the cost by putting in a day's teaching. And most of us, no matter who we are, have got something valuable that we could teach children if we put our mind to it and had a month or so to plan it and had somebody to make suggestions. You know, I've met people who are on the street who've had really interesting stories to tell. It really doesn't matter what your life history is, as long as you've had some, not spent the whole time working on a job you hate and watching TV when you get home, living with a husband you hate and children you don't like.
Unfortunately. Well, you know, that lockdown, I think a lot of divorce happened, you know, and people did learn how to homeschool, like in some cases, you know. Like, I know I'm trying to look for something positive in a really, really horrible situation that we were in. But it did give some people opportunities to really look at things.
Yeah, there's always good from bad.
Yeah. It'd be good if it was just good. No bad. But yeah, what a world.
Yeah, there are no such thing as problems, they say. They're just learning opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I've repeated some as well.
I could have skipped
Me
a few.
too. Yep. Yep. Wow. Yeah, I love what you're doing, Clive. I do. I really love what you're doing, and I love that the festivals, going to the festivals, like
go to a festival in Scotland, Caroline.
You think, yeah, you got to come here.
I was in Scotland a month or so ago.
Oh.
At the Hydro in Crieff.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Doing a 4-day thing with Barbara O'Neill. Have you come across Barbara?
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I love her.
Yeah, I love her too. Yeah.
She's fantastic. Absolutely incredible.
I love you too.
Yeah.
So with the Crieff thing, each of us did a different talk on each day, and so all the recordings of the whole thing are available. I think if you put Barbara O'Neill, Crieff, it'll just come up.
Yeah, I'm going to look for that.
But,
are you planning a tour next year? Like, are you going to be?
If the organisers want to do it again, yeah.
Yeah.
It was great because there were about 1,000 people, so it was a big enough venue to really have a bit of an impact. And the great thing about talking to a big audience is if you do tell a joke and they laugh, it's infectious, and you get, it's infectious, so lots of people laugh. I like big rooms, they're good.
Yeah.
Well, how old is Barbara O'Neill? I heard some people say that she's 70 and other people said that she's 90 something.
No, she told me she's 72.
72.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But a bundle of energy. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Bless her. What does she eat? Oh, she eats some kind of porridge for breakfast.
she's veggie.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, you're not? Not either. Yeah. I like fish. I do. I like fish.
I like fish too. I like steak, fish. I never used to like lamb, but I like lamb. God, I like lamb.
No. Not eating baby lambs.
Well, the predator, carnivore, goes to the liver first. That's number one. Chicken liver, duck liver, goose liver pate can be a very acceptable way to take liver, because I hate calves liver and lamb's liver, but chicken liver pate with lots of garlic.
Yeah, good. I can handle that. Yep.
But I've seen vegans who got to the stage they can't get out of bed, they're so weak, liver, and in one day they're feeling better.
Yeah, I like chicken livers fried with butter and garlic.
Exactly.
The onions. Yeah.
Because it's so rich, you don't need much of it, because we don't eat for calories, we don't eat for fullness, we eat for nutrition. So because liver is so nutritious, you don't need much quantity. And so if you want to lose weight, eating stuff like coconut oil, liver, you can make a bone broth that's super concentrated, whether it's fish bones or meat bones. If you can get really nutrient-dense food, your appetite will be less.
Yeah. I like to eat soups too.
Yeah.
I like to make soups. I like to eat soups.
And your intestines love it as well. As the old saying goes, the road to good health is paved with good intestines.
Yeah. Sometimes my intestines don't like me.
Well, probiotics maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's easier with like liquid foods because it's not as hard to digest.
Yeah, exactly. The gut loves that. One of the big mistakes that people make is going to a doctor who says, oh, you've got acid reflux, here's a proton pump inhibitor. And people don't realize that stomach acid is necessary for you to digest food. So the doctor's giving them some antacid, like proton pump inhibitors. Now the people are going to get weak and ill because they're not getting the nutrients anymore. So when the doctors say you've got too much stomach acid, it's the opposite. They don't realize it's too little stomach acid. So if you add something like hydrochloric acid. You can get little hydrochloric acid tablets, take it with a meal, and now suddenly you've got the hydrochloric acid that stomach acid is. Alternatively, you could have a tablespoonful of apple cider vinegar at the beginning of the meal in water. A number of ways you can create stomach acid. Another one is a supplement called betaine and pepsin. And you can literally retrain your stomach acid, so retrain your stomach to make stomach acid as it should do. And it's just criminal that doctors are making these absolute errors.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how they don't notice it. It's hard to know why they keep giving the drugs, but Granny keeps getting worse. How is it?
Well, don't they say to sleep on your left side too? If you have the
I don't know, but I would have thought it would be you sleep on the other side so your heart isn't squashed by the right side, but I don't know actually. But the good thing for sleeping is to incline the head of your bed. So instead of having the bed flat, you have the head end maybe 5 or 6 inches higher than your foot end, and that changes blood pressure, changes blood flow. People's varicose veins go down, for instance.
So elevating the head and not the feet.
Exactly.
So I guess you need one of those beds that you can elevate.
Well, you can prop it up with something useless like medical books.
Or pillows. Or pillows.
Well, no, you want to use something like books or a couple of bricks or something to raise it up. I did an interview maybe 10 years ago or something called inclined bed therapy, where I interviewed this guy who studied it in depth. So there is lots of information available.
I read about that myself.
It makes a difference. I notice if I go camping that for choice, I will look for a bit of ground that's not flat, but is on a slight incline. So I'm on the incline slightly down, only a tiny bit, but I notice myself gravitating to that and realize that actually I naturally want an inclined bed.
Well, there we're learning a lot of new things, Caroline.
Because I try to elevate feet. I've been doing it all wrong. Yeah, I've been doing it all wrong.
I'm sure there's an advantage to that way as well. I just don't know.
Yes.
I can't wait to try it the other way now.
So we got to get rid of our toxins.
Yes.
Well, loads of things that will do that. I mean, fulvic minerals, great for detox. Vitamin C, also great. Selenium gets rid of things like mercury. MSM sulfur is incredible. If you sulfate a metal, for instance, let's say you've got a mercury filling or a gold filling, which is mercury anyway, there may be mercury stuck in your body that's just, making the cells not work properly. So MSM sulfur mixed with a metal like mercury or lead will create lead sulfate or mercury sulfate. And the sulfates as a group are water soluble. So you might have had mercury in your body for 40 years from a tooth as a child or something, or too much tuna fish or whatever it is. And you take MSM sulfur, you can get it out even decades later. But the thing about MSM sulfur is you have to take enough. So imagine you took too little, you might mobilize the mercury out from the cells into the bloodstream and feel worse. So the thing is that if you start a detox using MSM sulfur, if for any reason you feel worse, take more and finish the job. So some people take a whole tablespoonful or even more to get rid of the mercury. But there are rules about detox. You want to make sure that you're drinking enough water so you can pee it out. You want to make sure that your bowels are moving properly so it doesn't just get reabsorbed. You want to make sure your liver and gallbladder are working properly. And on the Secret Health Club, there's loads of information about how to detox from vaxes, how to detox in general. And on the Clive De Carle website, there are loads of supplements that are specific for what they do. We do a couple of suppositories. And some people, you might have heard of the liver and gallbladder flush, which is really disgusting and horrible to do. But we do a liver and gallbladder flush and a coffee enema as suppositories, so you don't have any of the unpleasantness of either of those things in a normal form. And there's a direct link between the liver and the bowel, so a suppository can absolutely detox the liver, which, you know, it can be a really important thing. Also, in one of the suppositories, there is a herb called Chanca piedra, which in Spanish would be stonebreaker. So there's a lot of people who've got kidney stones and gallstones, and they do the gallbladder and liver flush to get rid of stones. This doesn't do that. That just, our suppository dissolves them. Instead of trying to pass them, which can be unpleasant, Piedra stonebreaker breaks the stones and you pass them. You know, I mean, the South Americans have known about Chanca piedra for a very, very long time, and the doctors should know because it's inexpensive, effective, and so on, but it's not patentable, so they'll never know.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is. It really is. But you're even coming up with ways like where people can take these really beneficial supplements and not have all the discomfort that has been around. Like if you're putting them in a suppository form, you know, it's
so easy. I mean, you know,
easy, yeah.
And there are so many simple remedies for stuff. If somebody's weak, chances are they're low on selenium, magnesium, vitamin C, and amino acids. If somebody is very, very thin and wants to put on weight, fulvic minerals, amino acids, magnesium, pretty much the same things. If somebody's got symptoms of menopause, hot flushes, cold hands and feet, hot hands and feet, brain fog, dry skin, thyroid issues, putting on weight, iodine and selenium are almost certainly the ones. You know, women in particular often have a thyroid problem, and you can fix that, generally speaking, with iodine and selenium. Doctors put the women on levothyroxine, but 150 years ago, doctors knew that a glandular, an extract from a cow or a pig's thyroid would fix, you know, pig thyroid, cow thyroid is almost identical, you know, in dried, desiccated form as a capsule as human thyroid. And so there are so many answers. Again, that's why the Secret Health Club exists, because while YouTube and Google won't let me normally talk about this stuff, the Secret Health Club is a club, and you can join it and get the information. If somebody wants to join the full club, it's about $100. However, if you're listening to this and you're like, I can't afford $100, send me an email, say what you can afford, we'll sign you up. If you're broke and got no money, write to me and we'll sign you up for free. You know, I believe that information should be free. It's just that I got staff to pay and stuff.
That's very generous.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's listeners out there that will take you up on that. They'll take advantage of that. I'm going to join it. There was so much I wanted to read because I could see all these little people had said, oh, I just started reading this and I found out about Alcoholics Anonymous and Rockefeller. I was like, I need to read these things, you know.
Yeah. We need to join the secret club.
We do. We need to join the secret club.
My favorite section is the babies section. Because, it shows you how to stop a baby crying, how to hold a baby in a way that it generally won't cry, how to position the toys in the crib. So what the mothers do is they hang the toys right in front of the child. That's silly. You want to hang it slightly behind the child. So as the child looks at it, they put their head back and you get really tired. You hold your head back like that for a while, you fall asleep. And so there are so many things. one of the other ones is that you can teach children between the ages of 5 and 11 how to be totally blindfolded and still see everything.
Mm.
You know, most people don't realize that we have this secondary sight, but if you haven't got it by the age of 11, you're not going to get it. Some children can learn to see blindfolded in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
They can draw incredible detail, tell you all the colors, the whole thing. Then there's another video where it shows that babies have language on the day they're born.
Oh, yeah.
So before they cry, they make a little ooh noise or an ah noise before they cry. If the parents recognize that noise, they know that their baby is telling them that they're hungry or they need winding or they're having a poo or whatever it is, they're tired. And so these children who have been understood by their parents from the first day develop speech much more quickly, don't cry nearly as much, because basically, why do we cry? Well, mum and dad didn't understand what we just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. We're almost out of time, Clive.
Okay.
It's been extraordinary.
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Come back again. We'd love to have you back again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's lots more to talk about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I know I'm going to look everything up now.
Right, and there it goes. There goes the time. Well, don't forget to come back next week. Dr. Charnel Wolverine will be on. Thanks for listening to Life in the Hologram. Bye.
Bye.